What's up guys, JV2017 here, and today I am continuing my Fallout 4 pre-release content. We can now count the number of days until release on our fingers, which is only 10 days away. I guess if you don't have 10 fingers, that doesn't apply for you, but anyways, just a quick reminder guys, this is your #1 hub for Fallout 4 content here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned on my channel now and when the game comes out on November 10th. Today we are talking about dialogue because, as many of you already know, we have a voiced protagonist this time around. It's a huge departure from previous dialogue systems in Fallout games, and I think it will definitely have an impact on the overall experience. The community seems to be pretty split on whether it was a good decision or not, so I'd like to have a chance to share my ideas here with you all today. Let's start by highlighting the significant changes to dialogue in this game. First off, obviously our player character is no longer silent. They will be talking. The sole survivor is fully voiced by a male and a female option. There's no multiple options within those genders, unfortunately, but I don't blame them. There's a ton of lines recorded in this game. In fact, there are more lines of dialogue in Fallout 4 than Fallout 3 and Skyrim combined, at an astounding 111,000 lines of dialogue. That is so much. To put that into perspective, I don't know if you guys know of Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's an MMO. That has 200,000 lines, and MMOs typically will have way many more lines than, single player games like Fallout 4. This has half of that. This is an absolutely insane amount. It's hard to describe and put into words. And obviously this makes sense because the player is voiced, in my opinion. Obviously there's going to be more lines, but in fact each player character has 13,000 plus lines alone. Basically, to me, that means that there's so many people to talk to out in the world. There's so many different things to do, and this is a really awesome idea to keep in the back of our minds. And something else I observed in Bethesda's gameplay exploration video on their channel is that the world is not paused when you're in a conversation. It is moving. Everything is happening around you while you're talking to people. An example of this is the foliage actually moves when you're talking to Codsworth in that player demo that we saw at E3. And again, it's up on Bethesda's channel, link in the description if you guys want to check that out. So just some comparing and contrasting. Before, the world was paused. Everything was paused around you when you were in dialogue. That's not the case in Fallout 4. Obviously, before, our character was silent, like I said, and also having a silent character magnifies the role-playing aspect of these games, and I think that's a big issue for people, and I'm actually going to talk about all the issues that people have with the new dialogue system. Now that we know what has changed, let's talk about that dialogue system. So essentially, with every conversation you're going to enter, you're going to have 4 short phrases available that branch into more options. And also your perks and special will influence those options. So what's going to happen here is that the phrases that you see on screen, they're going to be like 2 to 3 words, are going to match what the player character will say. So if you're playing on a console, for example, the face buttons, that'll be the A, X, B, and Y, will correspond with which option you can choose with that short description of what the player will say. And if you haven't seen this before, think Mass Effect. Mass Effect utilizes this radial kind of dialogue system where you have all these options and you just move your stick and click A. It's not like that. We just have the 4 options, but those 4 options will branch off into even more options, and some of them will correspond with a perk. Like yesterday in my Charisma video, we talked about Lady Killer. That will most definitely affect conversations. If you're playing a male soul survivor and you're talking to a female, you will see that indication. Some other observations I have about this is that our choices will not take as long. What you want to pick is not going to take as long because we have these general ideas. There's less reading going on. Before, there was so much text to read. That's not the case this time around, but also the conversations will probably take longer because you're watching your player talk. And I don't know if people are going to get impatient and just try to skip through it. There's probably a subtitle option if you want to skip that. Obviously, reading is way quicker than just watching someone talk. Reading's quicker than talking for most people, I would say. At E3, Todd Howard actually said you can walk away from conversations, so it's completely dynamic. If you're talking to Codsworth in the beginning of the game like they showed us in that demo, you could literally just take your thumbsticks and walk away if you're playing on console, just like you would walking in the normal game. So we got a very dynamic conversation system here. You can also apparently have group conversations. So say you're talking with Preston Garvey, Piper, and yourself. You three are in a conversation. You can chime in and go back and forth. Maybe Piper and Preston are talking. You can have an option to chime in. It's a very dynamic system that we have in this game. And also, they said it's possible to have two separate, completely unrelated conversations at once. That doesn't sound pleasant, but it's awesome to know that that's even possible. Now, when you contrast this with what we had before, there used to be no limit on the options. In this game, we have 4 options. You have to choose one of them, and that will branch into more options. That may annoy people. In the past, there were no limits. You could just keep scrolling down to all those options. And also, we had the full dialogue of what our character was going to say before they said it. And a lot of people are worried that that changes the outcome of what's going to happen. It'll be interesting to see if that actually does. And again, we were locked into conversations before, but now we can move away from them, run away from them, and just blow people off. It sounds fantastic. As I mentioned before, a lot of Fallout fans are having issues with this dynamic dialogue system. You know, the fact that the character is voiced, what are the ramifications of that fact? And here are the main issues that I basically compiled by paying attention to, subreddits and the internet over the past 4 months. So people are worried that certain phrases that you will choose will lead to misleading options. That's a concern for people. Also, people are worried about their low intelligence playthrough. As we know in the past, if you had a low intelligence character, you would have some very silly dialogue options to choose from, and that's a concern. And another one is the lack of immersion in role-playing. Like I said before, having a silent character allows you to inject yourself into the experience, into the game. We don't have that anymore because we do have a voiced character. I'm going to start with a misleading concern. I don't think this is going to be a huge concern, honestly, but people are kind of citing LA Noire. If you guys remember LA Noire with Cole Phelps, it was like a detective game. When you doubted somebody in that game, sometimes Cole would scream at them. He would flip out at them, and people didn't want that to happen in their LA Noire game. But I have to point out that these are totally different games, a totally different developer. And also in that game, you're not really dealing with dialogue decisions. It was more of a mini game with this doubt, truth, lie, all of that stuff. It's completely different. So I honestly don't think that Bethesda would do something like, say you're talking to Preston Garvey and you want to support the Minutemen, but you have, some concerns about their activities or whatever. If you were to pick an option that said concern about Minutemen or whatever, that would completely turn you on the Minutemen. I don't think that's even a possibility. I don't think Bethesda would do that to us. I think they're smarter than that. They've had plenty of time to work on this game. I just don't think it's going to be an issue. Next is the low intelligence run through. And to be quite honest, I have no idea how they will address this, but I will say that I highly doubt that the voice actors recorded a bunch of grunts or a bunch of mispronounced words or whatever. So if you guys didn't know in the past, if you ran a low intelligence character, you would have some very silly dialogue options to respond to people, and somehow they would either understand you or not understand you. But we don't know how this is going to work in this game. We don't know if our character will actually seem dumb or not. I don't know how this is going to be addressed. I don't think they have a bunch of grunting, like I said. We'll just have to see. Finally, people are worried about a lack of immersion and the ability to roleplay now that we have voiced characters. And really, I am all about change. I am all about evolution and going forward with this franchise. I think it's a fantastic decision because it's new, and it's not only new, it's smart. It's not just, we're just going to decide to, voice them now. Todd Howard very specifically explained that it allows them to direct the story and make it more emotional. And it would feel often impersonal in previous Fallout games while you're doing the story because your character has no emotion. There's so much power in the inflection and tone and emotion of a character's voice and seeing that character's expressions on their face. I think it's a fantastic decision. I think it's a new evolution of the Fallout franchise. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm ready for it. As you can tell, I'm in big favor of this decision, but I want to know what you guys think. Tell me in the comments section below, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like this fully voiced character? Is it a good or a bad decision? Why or why not? Let me know below. Alright guys, today we touched on the revamped, fully voiced dialogue system in Fallout 4. Next time we'll cover more Fallout 4 information here on my channel, so stay tuned for all of my pre-release content, and remember that this is your #1 hub for Fallout 4 content on YouTube. If you have any ideas for something you would like me to cover that I haven't touched on yet, be sure to leave it in the comments section below. If you learned something new from this video, remember to hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for continued Fallout 4 content on my channel. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.